So, Tom, you have literally just left the SBC Annual Meeting. A lot of people have been praying for it. Feels like some of those prayers not answered just yet in some ways. So probably 3-4 areas we could go into, but we'll start with probably the biggest one, which was the law amendment. I think everybody was going, this is key, and it did not pass by a very fine margin. So it got the majority, but didn't get a sufficient majority. So talk us through what happened there, and just give us your thoughts, your initial reaction to that not passing.
Yes, well, last year the law amendment passed easily with about 80% of the vote of the messengers. Since last year, however, we have had many of the leaders in the SBC come out against it and try to dissuade messengers from voting for it, and they were successful. They didn't have to get the majority. They just had to shave it down to less than 2/3. And so 61% voted for it. The others did not. We were within 700 votes of it passing. So what that says to me is that most Southern Baptists recognize the need for this amendment, and that our leaders who control the levers of power in the SBC are effective in doing what they want to do to sway messengers. I've been telling many pastors today who are very discouraged, look, elections have consequences, and the consequences we're living with are the election of leaders from the last 8 to 10 years who have put their people in place, who have come out in the last year very strongly against this amendment. So that's discouraging. And, I'm disappointed that it happened, but I'm not at all despondent, and we just have to recognize we've got more work to do. So that's my message to my fellow pastors and myself, is that we can't give up. We just have to regroup and recognize that the challenge is still before us. So I'm disappointed, saddened, but far from despondent.
Wonderful. Yeah, no, I would agree with that attitude. Again, from a distance, speaking as an outsider, but it seems like the right way to look at it. And it was still a majority that were in favour. It just needed to get over that line. So not a lost cause by any means. Okay, next will be the ERLC. You introduced a proposal, if that's the correct term, or proposed an amendment to abolish the ERLC. That did get some traction. What was your sort of thinking behind that? Were you positioning that as this is likely to pass, or was that making a statement and showing that that is something that may gain traction? What was your thinking behind proposing that?
Well, I definitely wanted it to pass. That's why I
Sure.
made the motion, but I didn't show up to the convention this year with that in mind. I've not done any kind of efforts to try to gain support for it because I didn't know that I was going to do it. But we had Megan Basham, who spoke at a luncheon that we sponsored, Founders Ministries and the Center for Baptist Leadership, on Tuesday or on Monday. And no, it was Tuesday. I'm getting my days mixed up. But she spoke from her book that's coming out in July about just some of the significant steering that has taken place in the Southern Baptist Convention, particularly with the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission, ERLC, and how leftist organizations have poured in hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars into the ERLC over many years in order to help steer the SBC toward the left. And so I was just grieved by that and was coming back to the convention from lunch. And it was the next business session where open motions were appropriate. So I just went to a microphone, was recognized, and made the motion. We have a bylaw in our Constitution and bylaws of the SBC that recognizes there may be times when the different entities might need to be abolished. And so it tells you how to do it. And it has to happen with a majority vote, a simple majority, for 2 years in a row. And so the ERLC was in no danger of being abolished this year. But I was hoping to fire a shot across the bow, give them a year opportunity to change course because they're on a bad course. They're under bad leadership. And I've spoken about this openly and to the leader of the ERLC about this as well. The ERLC's leader, Brent Leatherwood, he's the president, issued together with other pro-life organizations 2 years ago an open letter to state legislators basically saying you better not stand for equal protection under the law for unborn children. And that was 1 year after the Southern Baptist Convention passed a resolution saying that we are working for equal protection under the law for unborn children. So he just went 180 degrees contrary to the will of the messengers of the churches that pay his salary. And I was hoping that we might be able to send a message to the ERLC and say, look, we're giving you a year to get back on the right track. This is not punitive. It is corrective. It can become punitive if you will not be corrected. But again, the messengers didn't vote for that. From where I sat, it looked like it might have been maybe 45% that we lost that vote. I've had one man email me and some others talk to me that were in the back of the room, and they said they questioned the decision of the chair. They thought it was close enough that it should have gone to a ballot vote. So anyway, it was a significant minority that voted for the dissolution of the ERLC, which, if I'm leading that organization, I'm going to take to heart. I hope that he will.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a worthwhile, excuse me, a worthwhile stand to take. And I think interesting that there was that much support for something that hadn't really been driven, and it was a spur of the moment thing. So hopefully it does have that effect, and we'll pray it will. Give us your thoughts on the presidency then. Clint Presley, if I'm right, became president. I believe I've got his name correct. Yes.
Yes,
so
you do.
Yes, give your thoughts on him and how that went.
Well, one thing to say is that the two candidates that were the obvious choices of the more progressive wing of the convention, and that's the ones who've been in leadership the last several years, those two men did not even make it to the second ballot. And so I praise God for that. I think that was a kindness of the Lord. The two men who were very clear and outspoken in their understanding of what is going on in the convention and the things that need to be changed. They did not make it onto the final ballot, the third ballot. And so Clint is a good man. He's a conservative Baptist pastor. He is on record supporting the law amendment, though, he's not enthusiastic about it. Now he doesn't have to deal with it. But he's also on record saying that he would support the releasing of some video surveillance footage that exists that records what happened to Mike Stone back in 2021, which the executive committee of the Southern Baptist Convention has and has refused to release. Though Mike was given some assurance that it would be released to him years ago, and that still hasn't happened. So I'm hoping that Clint will follow through on that commitment and work to get that released, because Mike was accused, he says falsely, I have no reason to doubt him at all, of saying things to some people that were unkind and harsh, and people took that to heart, and that was part of what was used to smear him, to keep him from being elected president in 2021. So I hope that for his sake that he gets an opportunity to be vindicated, if indeed that's what the surveillance footage does, which I have no doubt it will.
Very good. Yeah, well, we'll be praying for Clint and pleased in the end that he got in. Obviously, we know Jared well and we're supportive of his bid, but nonetheless, Clint, as you said, seems like a good guy, and so wonderful, and we'll trust that he'll make good decisions in there and move it in a better direction. So praise God for that. Give us your sort of final closing thoughts just on everything as a whole, what you would encourage those pastors and leaders and members within the Southern Baptist Convention. How would you be encouraging them at this point in time?
Well, I'm telling everyone that I have the opportunity to speak to, this is no time to make decisions. Many people are discouraged and wanting to leave the convention. I'm sure we will see more churches leave because of what happened here the last few days, and especially the months leading up to it. But I hope that they will just take a few months off and reflect and pray and consider and make a decision under calmer moments than what we've been through these last 2 days. And I intend to participate with some other men. I met with some today to talk about, okay, where do we go from here? And hopefully we can issue a statement and maybe even have an opportunity for a roundtable discussion with whoever wants to participate, to think through what do we do? How do we try to serve the 61% that were in favor of the law amendment, because that's a clear majority. And so we shouldn't be discouraged. We should just try to figure out, what do we need to do to get those extra 700 voters in the room next time, and just keep working together as the Lord leads us. Like most pastors here, I have a church to serve that I'm very delighted to serve. I'm going home to that church, plenty to do. And what took place these last 2 days is not going to change my basic day in and day out responsibilities.
Wonderful. Well, look, Tom Ascol, thank you so much, and safe travels home.
All right. Thank you, brother.